Hello there. This is the documentary Sahebs Who Never Left. It's a YouTube documentary, I guess. It's 31 minutes long, and with me here, it might be a little longer, so I hope you're down for a long video. But yeah, apparently this is the first part of the Hindu phobia that I watched like a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Yeah, so this was the first part, and then that's like kind of like an added on part. So yeah, let's go with the first.
1970 का दशक सोवियत संघ के एक प्रोफेशनल प्रोपेगेंडिस्ट यूरी बेज़मेनोव ने यूएसएसआर से डिफेक्ट करके अमेरिका में शरण ली। केजीबी ने पूरी दुनिया में कम्युनिस्ट आइडियोलॉजी फैलाने के लिए जो भयावह तरीके इजाद किए थे, बेज़मेनोव ने वो सभी राज दुनिया के सामने खोले।
Yeah, the propaganda, oh my gosh. Like, that's one thing you always hear, like in the older films, how they were amazing with propaganda, how they controlled their populace. And a lot of the times, especially at that point in time, the propaganda, the things that they were told were complete false when they got here. A lot of the things that their intel, they had to hide here because there was no way for them to figure out how things worked because what they were told wasn't what it was. Propaganda now is one of the strongest things because news organizations, movies you watch, products you buy, everything has its agenda. Everything is pushing something. Everything has propaganda. I mean, I remember watching what's the documentary, like What the Health? I think that one's the one that talks about veganism and why it's so important and why it's the greatest thing to do of all time. They were talking to doctors. They were talking to the people who live that life. They were talking to just all the stuff, but they weren't talking to the people who got the health problems. That it's everything that tries to sell its own propaganda. And that's one thing I absolutely despise. Just, well, governments, news, everything sells its own propaganda. And no one's allowed to think for themselves because everyone's, sorry, I went off on a tangent there, but propaganda is just, that stuff just gets more advanced and more advanced and more advanced.
उस प्रोसेस का नाम था आइडियोलॉजिकल सबवर्शन। सबवर्शन की बात दुनिया के सामने भले ही 1970 में आई, पर उन टेक्निक्स का इस्तेमाल विश्व के कई साम्राज्य हजारों सालों से करते आए हैं। ब्रिटिश साम्राज्य भी उनमें से एक था।
Well, every group has done it, not just the British Empire. I know the British Empire did it to every colony they had, but the U.S. did it, Russians did it, Hispanics have done it. Yeah, Canadians probably not. I think Canadians just got to Canada and then set up shop. I don't think they've done much other than that. But everyone who's basically conflicted with someone else always has their own propaganda. It's always about what's being done to them instead of what they're doing to other people. That's the type of propaganda it is. I think America was like the first to say, we did this to these people and was proud about it when they shouldn't have been proud about it. It should have been like a hang your head low for a moment type thing. But it's just...
इस्लामी लुटेरों से कहीं ज्यादा शातिर ब्रिटिश ने 200 साल तक भारतीयों को ही अपना एजेंट बनाकर भारत पर शासन किया।
Yep.
लुटेरों के इरादे तो समझ आते हैं, पर ये भारतीय कौन थे जिन्होंने अंग्रेजों का साथ दिया?
The snakes in your midst. Yeah, the ones who are in the I mean, I've seen plenty of Indian cinema where they show the classic films and there's always that one who's selling themselves out. The fact that they never understood that they are not important. Those rats who sell out their own nation, why would they, like the ones where they're like, why would I trust a rat? And then the British officer kills them. Those are the ones that I was like, yes. Why would you trust someone who would sell out his own people? What would he do to sell you out? So it's just like the whole thing is just, oh.
उन्हें ऐसा क्यों किया? सोने की चिड़िया कहलाने वाले भारत में इतने ज्ञान और वैभव के रहते हम अचानक इतने कमजोर कैसे पड़ गए? हम दूसरों से नहीं बल्कि अपनों से हारे। जो इतिहास हम सबको बताया गया है।
It was greed. People sold it out to... Sorry. Yeah, I know it's only been a minute. I've probably been talking for 4 or 5 minutes already. But yeah, the greed. They sell their soul for one of the richest nation in the world at that time, and probably even still now, with how much gold just sits in temples, sits in people's homes, sits in India's, if they gathered all the gold that was in the nation, they'd probably still be one of the richest nations in the world. And well, they're up and coming now anyway. I think they're like third. Well, with all their tech, they're like third. India's third. So it's just like, how could people have so much and still want more? The greed of humanity is one of the nastiest things. So it's not an Indian trait. It's a human trait. It's a human trait, greed, the want for more, the want for what your neighbor has. They saw what some of these Britishers had, which was honestly less than what India had, but it was different. It was new. It was unique. We want that.
ये वो कहानी नहीं है. ये कहानी है भारत के सच्चे इतिहास की, भारत की आइडियोलॉजिकल सबवर्जन की.
Now we get to the intro.
स्वतंत्रता आखिरकार क्या ये सच था? 200 साल की वो काली रात आखिरकार खत्म हो गई थी. अंग्रेज जा रहे थे बड़े बड़े जहाजों में भरकर इंग्लैंड के लिए. हमारे चेहरे तो देखने लायक थे. कल वो सुबह होगी जिसके लिए लाखों लड़े. बस कुछ दिन और, फिर सारे क्रांतिकारी राष्ट्रवादी लोगों को बुलावा आएगा दिल्ली का. सब मिलकर भारत की एक.
Honestly, I firmly believe one of the worst things to happen to a nation, even though India's kind of gotten its feet under itself, is when there is a group, in this case it was Britain, who is controlling India for the vast majority of its development. When they leave, India was like, groups are left to fend for themselves. And it becomes nothing but a fight between its own people, a war with each other just to get on top. It's scrambling for whatever was left, the breadcrumbs that were left. And it becomes a nasty situation. It's because no matter if it's India, no matter where it is in the nation, as soon as a power that had taken control leaves, the power vacuum takes over. And that's one of the worst things to happen. Independence is amazing that it happened to India. It should have, the problem is, it should have never got to that point. That's the problem, but history can't be redone. It can only be learned from. Because that's 200 years of Britain literally doing whatever it wanted, taking over and doing whatever. And yeah.
नई कहानी लिखेंगे. अपना देश अब आजाद है. अब क्या फिक्र?
Each other, your neighbor.
कभी नहीं आया. बंद दरवाजों के पीछे न जाने किन किन समझौतों पर साइन किए गए. फिर अचानक से शोर हुआ कि 10 हफ्तों में देश हिंदू मुसलमानों में बांट दिया जाएगा. जिस सिंधु सरस्वती की गोद में हमारा जन्म हुआ था, कुछ ईसाइयों ने हमसे वो छीन ली. हिंदू मुसलमान एक दूसरे को काट रहे थे. लाशें गिनने वाला कोई नहीं था.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. When there's a power vacuum, like you never succeed total control. I think I think Britain knew it had gotten everything they wanted, and why would they waste more manpower making sure there is a correct transfer of power? Of course, everyone would complain that why would they make sure there was a correct transfer? But it's the correct thing to do. After you have destroyed and ransacked a nation for 200 years, it's just the right thing to do to make sure there's not a power vacuum. Because throughout time, that's always been the case. When a ruler dies or a ruler leaves, I've said that already. But yeah, they just were like, oh, we don't want to deal with this. We're taking off. You guys eat the breadcrumbs. Deal with it yourself. It's the most barbaric thing to do, to just abandon a location that you have drained dry, what you assume to be drained dry of resources.
मगर अपने नेता क्या कर रहे थे?
By you, I was meaning Britain.
गोरों को ये करने क्यों दिया?
Because it was the quicker option.
वॉइसरॉय आवाज पर उस शाम शैंपेन खुली. माउंटबेटन ने इंडिया के नाम टोस्ट किया. नेहरू जी ने हंसते हुए जाम उठाया और कहा, टू किंग जॉर्ज द सिक्स्थ। हमें लग रहा था कि 1947 में गोरे साहब चले जाएंगे। हम गलत थे। कुछ साहब ऐसे भी थे जो कभी गए ही नहीं।
So Sahebs are the traders. Is that what that means? Let me know down in the comments section below, because that's one thing I haven't gotten. Okay, the origins, part 1. Yeah, so Sahebs, I'm assuming, are the traders who sold out their nation and then were given everything. They were basically gifted the nation when the British left.
बात है आज से 1000 साल पहले की। भारत इस्लामिक लुटेरों से जूझ रहा था। सिंध के इस पार भी अब इस्लामिक तानाशाही थी। पैसे जनता से लूटे जाते थे, पर बड़ी जोर जबरदस्ती करनी पड़ती थी। लुटेरे तो मुट्ठी भर ही आए थे, पर करोड़ों जाहिलों को कौन संभाले? आखिर कितने सर काटे जा सकते थे? शेर शाह जैसे अफगानों ने यहीं के लोगों को लेकर शिकदारों की फौज बनाई। हर शिकदार के नीचे सैकड़ों सैनिक। अकबर के समय में ऐसे सैनिक लगभग 44 लाख थे। इनका काम होता था गरीबों की आत्मा में सरकार का डर बनाए रखने का। इन्हीं फौजों में होते थे दरोगा साहिब, जिनके पैरों की आहट से ही भूखी नंगी जनता कांपने लगती थी।
अब साहिब शब्द को आप देखें तो साहब किन को कहते थे? ये जो मोहम्मद बिन अब्दुल्ला था, जिसे पैगंबर बोला जाता है इस्लाम का, उसके साथ जो लोग थे जिन्होंने उसे जीवित अवस्था में देखा। ऐसा कहा जाता है कि वो इतने महान थे कि उन्होंने उस व्यक्ति को देखा, इसलिए वो साहब थे या सहाबा थे। ये जो शब्दावली थी वो आज भी आप देखें चलती है कि दरोगा साहब के पास चले जाओ, दरख्वास्त लेके जाओ।
Yeah, I'm going to need a definition of that.
3 रास्ते, या तो धर्म बदलकर,
I'll probably Google it right after this.
या ज़िम्मी बनो,
you know what?
या फिर सर कटवाओ। ज्यादातर लोग
I'm going to Google it right now. Okay. So Saheb means like master, leader, the ruler, basically the one. So the rulers of they never left. They were basically handed the reins of power. Okay. So some of the ones who were controlling never took off. They stayed. All right, so that's what that means. The ruler of the location.
लोग जिम्मी बनकर रहते थे। गलती चाहे जो करे, सजाएं सामूहिक रूप से दी जाती थी।
साहब सुनते ही जिम्मी वाली फीलिंग आती है कि हम आज भी जिम्मी हैं। साहब ने बुलाया तो झुक के जाना है, उनके आगे सलाम करना है।
जिम्मी बनकर रहो तो बेइज्जती सही, पर कम से कम जीने को तो मिलेगा। थोड़ा दबकर जी लेंगे, जिजिया दे देंगे, पर जान तो बच जाएगी। सैकड़ों साल जिम्मा उठाते उठाते साहबों का डर हमारे अंदर घर कर गया। हमारी सभ्यता का आत्मविश्वास टूटता गया, जबकि बाकी दुनिया तेजी से आगे निकल गई। राम राज्य जैसे विचार अब जनमानस में बस एक बहुत पुरानी स्मृति भर थे। अब तो बस यही रहता था कि कौन सा लुटेरा जा रहा है और कौन आ रहा है। ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी ने 1757 में आसानी से बंगाल जीत लिया। अरबों खरबों की संपदा वाले राज्य अनगिनत थे। असली चुनौती थी अपने से कई 100 गुना बड़ी आबादी को काबू में रखना। पर ये जनता अलग थी, डरी हुई थी, और इस्लामी काल के मुलाजिम भी नौकरी खोज रहे थे।
The highest art of warfare is not to fight at all, but to subvert anything of value in the country of your enemy.
Yeah, you make it seem like it's worth nothing. You trade them pennies for a piece of gold. You make them seem like they are less, like they need you. Like they absolutely need you. Like they have to have you. I mean, look at the way. Well, I guess India doesn't have TikTok, but the way TikTok has basically become the thing that is an absolute necessity in the U.S. You cannot see a single child that doesn't have that installed on their phone. I mean, I don't have it. because I've never been a fan of those kind of addicted I never did Vine, I never did Reddit, I never did things that could suck away your life for hours on end. I saw my brothers taken away by Vine for it was been like 3 hours on that, laughing and giggling. Same thing with Reddit. They'd get lost on those threads. I still don't know what Reddit actually is, but it's those kind of things that make you think that you have to have it. And the mindset, like same thing with Apple, the mindset that you don't belong if you don't have this. It's a marketing tactic. And that's the same thing. Taking over a nation is nothing more than a marketing tactic. It's marketing 101. Make it seem like you have everything to offer and they have nothing, that they need you, and you will be kind to give them this as long as they give you, well, everything that's worth far more.
भारत का सामाजिक तंत्र, शिक्षा, धर्म, आदर्श भले ही हमारी सभ्यता की विशेषता थे, पर हर समाज की तरह सैकड़ों सालों की गरीबी और भुखमरी के बाद कुछ समस्याएं भी पैदा हो गई थी। इन दरारों को भांपकर ब्रिटेन्स की आंखें चमक उठी।
The Soviets used the phrase ideological subversion. What do they mean by it?
Ideological subversion is the process to change the perception of reality to such an extent that despite of the abundance of information, no one is able to come to sensible conclusions. It's
Look at Hollywood. You look at Twitter and see those actors speaking nonsense because they have no concept of reality. They've lost all sense. And the people who Twitter is filled with people like that because what is it? The ones who scream the loudest are the ones that, something there's a saying there. I'm not going to bother looking it up. I already looked something up. But yeah, it's you make people believe something wholeheartedly that they stop asking questions. You want them to not grow as a people. You want them to literally just listen to the sludge you're putting out instead of realizing, oh, this is like in what was the movie, the Snowpiercer. In Snowpiercer, where the people at the back of the train, they were just eating these black brick bars for sustenance. They never asked questions. They were given what they were given. There were only a few that tried to act out, and when you find out what it is, it's one of the most disgusting and just like, it's nothing but a mulcher of cockroaches. These people are being fed a mulch of cockroaches. They just never think to ask why, because they're being fed. It's the same concept. That is the mindset of controlling. You want to make sure everyone's just happy enough or content enough or dumb enough to take like the school system in the U.S. They've kind of gotten rid of basic learning to teach other things that are more optional in life than necessary in life. But sorry, that off topic.
It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization.
It's funny because this is about India and how it was taken over by Britain, but the same thing could be said about everywhere in the world right now. You look at the news, you look at the trash Hollywood pumps out, the small little things that are being said, or how you get attacked for saying certain things. Everything is demoralizing.
In case of religion, destroy it, ridicule it, replace it with various sects, cults, and taken away from the supreme purpose of religion, to keep people in touch with the supreme being.
Not just with a supreme being, to keep in touch with each other. There is something about religion that allows people to come together as a group. It allows people to understand one another, to grow, and to just be politer and more accepting. That's just, it's a great thing about religion. It should be teach people the golden rule, basically.
भारत के समाज की सबसे गहरी जड़ थी हिंदू धर्म। इस सबवर्जन प्रोजेक्ट में कंपनी के ऑफिसर्स ने देश के कोने-कोने से क्राइम्स और स्थानीय कुरीतियों को खोजकर समूचे भारत में स्वीकृत हिंदू कुरीतियों के रूप में कंपाइल करना शुरू किया।
सबसे पुराना हमें हिस्टोरिकल डॉक्यूमेंट मिलता है वो है मेगास्थनीज का लिखा हुआ, जिसे इंडिका कहते हैं। आज से 2300 वर्ष पहले लिखा था। उसमें वो बताते हैं कि यहाँ पर कैटेगराइजेशन है समाज की, और जो सबसे ज़्यादा रिस्पेक्टेड है वो यहाँ के ब्राह्मण हैं, जिन्हें वो सोफिस्ट लिखते हैं। लेकिन वो साथ में एक बात बड़ी स्पष्ट लिखते हैं कि इस समाज में कोई भी चाहे तो ब्राह्मण बन सकता है, क्योंकि ब्राह्मण का जो जीवन है वो सबसे कठिन है।
इस्लामी लुटेरों के काफी दुश्मन हिंदू अब ईसाई अंग्रेजों के हत्थे चढ़ गए। सैकड़ों किताबें लिखी गई जिन्हें इंडोलॉजी एक्सपर्ट्स आज एट्रोसिटी।
And people get mad when I say mythology. But then again, religion is just a mythology. I've always said it to every, well, if you truly believe what you believe, then every other religion that is out there is a mythology to those people. It's a belief system that they have, which is centered in falsehoods. But that's if you truly believe your own religion. That's just how it should be. I know you should be accepting of every religion, but at the same time, if you truly believe what you believe, then everything else is false. That's just, there is no such thing. Like, this is one thing I get tired of hearing. There is no such thing as everyone is right. Everyone is just like, no, there's no such thing as that. In the end, we're all going to die. We're all going to find out who was right in the end. We're playing a lottery here. We're playing a lottery.
ट्रेशा बुलाते हैं। सती, देवदासी, ठग और ब्राह्मणिकल पैट्रियार्की जैसे मुद्दे इसी प्रोजेक्ट की उपज थे।
इस्लाम और क्रिश्चियनिटी में, इब्राहिमिक फेथ में स्त्री की क्या दशा है वो मुझे बताने की आवश्यकता नहीं है आपको। हम तो एक स्त्री प्रधान समाज थे। ब्राह्मणिकल पैट्रियार्की एक घिनौना शब्द है। ब्राह्मणों का योगदान इस देश की अस्मिता है, इस देश की जो प्रज्ञा है, इस देश में जो वैदिक संस्कृति का जो स्पंदन है, उससे कभी उऋण हो सकता है हिंदू समाज? ब्राह्मण्स आर लाइक द ब्रेन ऑफ हिंदुइज्म। उस ब्रेन को ही मलाइन कर दिया वामपंथियों मलेच्छों ने, और आप होने दिया हमने उसको। थोड़ा रुक के जरा देखो तो सही भाई, उपनिषदों का ज्ञान, गीता का ज्ञान, पुराण हमारे, महाभारत, रामायण, ये ज्ञान कैसे बचा? ब्राह्मणों ने बचाया श्रुति के द्वारा। औरंगजेब के लिए कहते हैं एक एक मण जनेऊ रोज उतरवाता था। किसके उतरवाता था? ब्राह्मणों के उतरवाता था। अगर ब्राह्मण इस देश में धर्मांतरण कर लेते तो हिंदू धर्म बचता? राजपूत लड़ पाते? किसके लिए लड़ते राजपूत?
लैटिन और अंग्रेजी बोलने वालों ने गूढ़ हिंदू ग्रंथों को गलत सही ट्रांसलेट किया। कंपनी के इन साहबों ने बाहर।
Now that's something I absolutely hate. The false interpretation to just... I don't mind, because that's the thing, like the Bible's been translated in every single language, and like one thing they can't do is just translate it falsely, whether you believe it or not. It just, they can't. It's one thing that's always been translated by people who believe and people who know. Get the fact that they literally... Because it's history. The mindset. Like, well, even now, like everything we're talking about now, right here, is relevant to what's happening now. What's happening now is that people don't value history. People don't value. They'd rather throw it away. They're trying to cancel dead people because they've said things that are incorrect at this point in time, even though it was correct at that point in time, whether you believe it or not. But still, yeah. Society is damaged, so damaged.
ये सभ्यता को एक खिलौने की तरह ऊपर नीचे से घुमा कर देखा, समझने का नाटक किया और मास प्रिंटिंग की टेक्नोलॉजी से खूब भ्रांतियां फैलाई।
Distract people attention from the real religious organizations with fake organizations.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the prosperity faith gospel, that's not real, but people believe it to be. And I would probably get attacked for saying that, so I'll get attacked for saying everything. I need to learn to keep my mouth shut sometimes, and I know a lot of you are nodding along saying yes,
and
play
it always starts with Ram Mohan Roy as the founding father of this neo-Hinduism. Ram Mohan Roy was an employee of the East India
in Calcutta.
The allegation is that he started Hinduism with his own hodgepodge, what we call khichdi, a mixture.
What he wants.
Started this thing, what today we would say is a muddled up sameness idea. The British had been talking all these things, but now for the first time is a very powerful, eminent, highly regarded, gentleman from India, an elite selling out. and he converted to the Unitarian Church. I mean, this is the typical sucking up to these guys. You know, I'm so grateful. Come and help us. We are not civilized. You please help us out and all that. Prototype brown side.
इस सब
That makes sense, though, because I remember studying Hinduism, because I went through the great mythologies of the world, and one correlating factor is how similar they all are. They literally tried taking the Hinduism and comparing it to like the Roman gods, which were based off the Greek gods. So it was, they tried to make it exact, because I remember going through it and I'm like, okay, so this is Mars right here. This is Aries. Mars and Aries are exactly the same. This is like Athena. It was the correlation between them. However, when you actually start getting into the real story, there's so much more there that it's just like, yeah, definitely not the right thing. And the fact that it's been there, it was in a college textbook. It was in a college textbook. I went through that. And the fact that it's probably still being used to this day, the false information in that textbook, because it's what made it around the world. And who's there to clarify it unless you're going out of your way to find out the real information? Yeah.
वर्जन में कंपनी को राजा राम मोहन रॉय जैसे कई उत्साही भूरे साहब मिले, जिन्हें आज की तरह ही मान्यता और सम्मान का लालच देकर अंग्रेजों ने इस्तेमाल किया। हाल ये था कि 1833 में राजा राम मोहन रॉय के निधन के बाद उन्हें ईसाई पद्धति से इंग्लैंड में दफनाया गया।
There obviously in every society there are people who are against this society. The moment
Yes, I am against this society we live in currently, because it's a trash society. It's a trash society. The people who need, if anyone knows what's going on in the U.S. right now, there's the movement Leave Kids Alone, which apparently is considered hate speech for some reason. Choosing to leave kids alone is considered hate speech. But yeah, I'm always against. But you've got to have people like me. Even if it's right, like even if the time is perfect, you need to have people who butt their heads against it. Even when everything is going perfectly, you have to have people who, like me again, who are too stubborn, arrogant, or dumb to realize that everything is going correctly. You need to have these questions asked. But you have to have those people. You have to have those people who don't sit in line, because if you don't have those people to discuss with, to educate, to help, to understand, even though they're too stubborn, you'll never know yourself if what you're talking about is true. Like one thing I've always said, you don't know what you believe is true unless you're able to hold a conversation with someone who completely stands against your own ideologies. Is that the correct word? Yeah. But
all these movements will be directed in one direction, right? This is the time to catch that movement and to continue it until the movement forces the whole society into collapse, into crisis.
So it's basically like a crowd. If a giant crowd is going one direction and you're trying to go through, you're going to end up being pushed to turn the other direction and go the other way. I mean, again, look at Twitter. Look at how they target people. Look at how they bully them till they apologize and bow their heads and say, I was completely wrong. Please forgive me. Don't cancel me. Ugh.
अगला निशाना बनी भारत की हजारों सालों से चली आ रही जाति और वर्ण व्यवस्था। जब अंग्रेज भारत में आए तो 500 में से 400 से ज्यादा रियासतें शूद्र राजाओं की थी, पर सबवर्जन करने के लिए दरारों को और गहरा करना जरूरी था। गोरों ने वर्ण और जाति को कास्ट में बदल दिया, जबकि कास्ट एक स्पेनिश पोर्चुगीज कॉन्सेप्ट था, कास्ता, जिसका भारत से कोई लेना देना ही नहीं था।
Because, okay, I've always been curious because the caste system is strong in India, more so than most other places. Well, I don't really know most other places. They've spent, as you can tell, I spent a lot of time on India, focusing on like the temples, the regions, the movies, the history. But out of every other thing that I've gone through, like the movie-based, history-based, all of them seem to have gotten rid of the caste system. However, India has seemed to inherit it and blown it out of proportion even more. I don't know if that has to do with, I don't know. I don't know, because it seems like India didn't have that at all in the beginning. Absolutely nothing like that. And then it gets introduced, and then it's one of the strongest structures there. I don't like talking about the caste system because it doesn't make sense to me, and it can create anger topics, and I try to avoid it because, again, I don't know much about it. I honestly don't. I'm the basic white boy who knows nothing about nothing.
उन्होंने रवांडा में भी कास्ट सिस्टम क्रिएट कर दिया। अब वहां तो कोई ब्राह्मण नहीं थे। जब आप अंग्रेजों द्वारा स्थापित 1871 से बाद के सेंसस देखना शुरू करते हैं, तो हर सेंसस कमिश्नर को ये एक्सप्लिसिट ऑर्डर्स थे कि तुमने इनको कास्ट में लिखना है, कास्ट को कैटेगराइज करके लिखना है। और जो लिख रहा है वो अपने आप रिपोर्ट्स भेज।
Whoa. Did that say a... Let's look at that. Let's look at that.
1871 से बाद के सेंसस देखना शुरू करते हैं, तो हर सेंसस कमिश्नर को ये एक्सप्लिसिट ऑर्डर्स थे कि तुमने इनको कास्ट में लिखना है, कास्ट को कैटेगराइज करके लिखना है।
All right, so a basket maker, a leaf plate maker, a tanner, a charmer, a body, Ben Shapur or Dakar, cobbler, a thread whister, weaver, oil maker, spirit distiller. Ooh, spirit distiller. That would be a good one. A potter, a salt extractor, a lunis, kumar. You can go ahead and laugh at me in the comments about how I'm reading these wrong. Kalwar, a telly. Are these the... Oh, it's what they are. Okay, this is how you say it in... What language is this written in? You know, I'm not going to even guess what language it's written in. That'd be an insult. But this is the translation. Okay, so I'm not going to read the...
वो अपने आप रिपोर्ट्स भेजता था कि यहाँ के लोग इस कास्ट को नहीं मानते हैं, लेकिन ऊपर बैठा ब्यूरोक्रेट बोलता था कि लिखना, इसलिए यहाँ पर वर्ण को, जाति को, कुल परंपरा को, सबको कास्ट वर्ड में ढाल दिया गया। और आज हम उसी के गुलाम होके ऐसा मान लेते हैं कि हम...
And that's a barbaric system, a barbaric idea to caste people. Oh, it just doesn't make any sense. And
सदा से ही कास्टिस्ट सोसाइटी रहे हैं।
रोमन्स की डिविडे एट इम्पेरा की पॉलिसी को अंग्रेज अच्छी तरह निभा रहे थे। ब्राह्मणों और क्षत्रियों को अत्याचारी आर्यन आक्रमणकारी बताकर उन्हीं के सर उस समय की दिक्कतों का दोष मढ़ दिया गया, जबकि इसकी असली वजह कंपनी की लूट और इस्लामिक काल की कुरीतियां थी। समाज के भेदों को और गहरा बनाते हुए मुसलमानों से गोहत्या फिर से...
Yeah, there's one thing I've said, like some of my other... it's Britain helped divide India. It was their divisiveness that helped it fall into fracture. I mean, one of the best ways to control people is to separate them from one another. Like the joke where there is when you go to India, you don't meet any Indians because the only Indian group is the Indian Army. Everything else, they're all different types of people. They're all separated, and they're all unique. They're all unique in their own culture, but they consider themselves different from one another. And I find that strange. I mean, when you're an American, you see yourself as American. Whether you're from, like my friend's from Detroit, but he's an American, or someone's from Texas, they're an American, or someone's from Florida, they're American. They all have different walks of life, different understandings of the world because of where they're at. But in the end, they're all American. Yeah, but oh my gosh.
जोर शो से शुरू करवाई गई। 1871 की क्रिमिनल ट्राइब्स एक्ट से कई जातियां जन्मजात अपराधी घोषित हो गई। ऐसी पॉलिसीज और तेजी से घटते संसाधनों के बीच भारत का प्राचीन सामाजिक ढांचा ढहने लगा।
Education distract them from learning something which is constructive, pragmatic.
That's what's going. Like, it's funny. All this is happening now. happening now. Watch the news. Like, if you see this, just open up a news article of what's going on. Type in, I think it was happening in LA. Why is there an issue with leave kids alone? Why is there an issue? Just Google that. It might pop up immediately.
Efficient. Take away the initiative from people. Take away the responsibility from naturally established links between individuals, group of individuals, and society at large, and replace them with artificially, bureaucratically controlled bodies.
Yes, the school system is how you control. It used to be that it would be like their grandparents, parents, loved ones of the family, religious organizations who came together, like the church services or the temple services, or just all that kind of stuff, help raise the kids. The mothers would take care of it as the fathers went off to work, went off to harvest the fields, or the tough manual labor of the son would go assist the father at the age of like 12. But the kids would learn far more out in the fields or working on things in practical life rather than going to a school and being conditioned to learn just what they need to learn. Like, heck, you can ask I doubt any American in the school system, in the public school system, knows what credit score is or knows what debt is. How can someone not know what debt is, what compounding interest is, what all this stuff it is to be an adult? Not a single one knows any of those concepts. A mortgage, a loan, none of that.
विलियम बेंटिक ने 1835 में इंग्लिश एजुकेशन एक्ट लाकर भारतीय शिक्षा और गुरु शिक्षा
Yes, I keep relating it to America, but that's just what I know most of. Kind of. I can't say wholeheartedly that I know America.
परंपरा का अंत भी शुरू कर दिया। मैकॉले के चलते भारत के लोगों को अब यॉर्कशायर की झुग्गी झोपड़ी वाली शिक्षा लेनी थी। मैदान में युद्ध के बजाय किसी को क्लासरूम में हताश कर देना कहीं अच्छा था। लूट से उजड़ चुका समाज परंपरागत पाठशालाओं को दान कहां से देता? एक-एक करके पाठशालाएं और गुरुकुल बंद होने लगे। शिक्षा के बिना आबादी अब की
It was those schools that were created by the neighbors, by the township, by the people who knew what they were doing.
केवल अनपढ़ मजदूरों और किसानों का समूह बनकर रह गई। हमें व्हाइट मैन्स बर्डन बुलाया जाता था, अंग्रेजों का बोझ। अंग्रेज मिशनरी गरीब बच्चों को घर से ले जाते और उन्हें कॉन्वेंट्स में रखकर अंग्रेजी तौर तरीके सिखाते।
English and manners.
जब ऐसी पढ़ाई करके वो बच्चे कॉन्वेंट
You can't use your hands. You have to use a utensil. Oh, there's nothing more barbaric than shoveling your food into your mouth. I think. I mean, I do it, but there's something about holding a small little shovel in your hand and
निकलते तो उन्हें अपने ही माँ बाप, अपना समाज अजनबी लगता और चालाक मिशनरी अपने सगे। पिता की जगह अब फादर ने ले ली थी। जिस देश को पूरे यूरोप ने लूटा, उसके बच्चे को विश्वास दिलाया गया कि उनकी संस्कृति पिछड़ी है और लुटेरे क्रिश्चियंस के तौर तरीके वैज्ञानिक। इस तरह धर्म, जाति, समाज और शिक्षा हर स्तर पर भारत की भोली भाली जनता का एक्टिव डिमोरलाइजेशन हुआ।
The next stage is destabilization. Dropouts or half-baked intellectuals are now occupying the positions of power in the government, civil service, business, mass media, educational system. You are stuck with them. You cannot get rid of them.
No, because once they're in for the time being, or they're the ones with power, so they can't get taken out because they control the narrative. That's how it goes. Again, that's what's going on here. They control the narrative. Everybody knows, or at least the ones who know that it's just, oh my gosh.
They are programmed to think and react to certain stimuli in a certain pattern.
संपन्न परिवारों के बच्चे अब पढ़ने लिखने इंग्लैंड जाते, बैरिस्टर और सिविल सर्वेंट बनते। वापस आने पर इन भूरे साहबों के दिल में मैली कुचली जनता के लिए कोई सहानुभूति नहीं बची रहती थी, बल्कि अब तो इन्हें डर लगता था कि ब्लडी विलेजर्स मालिकों को कहीं ज्यादा गुस्सा न दिला दें। इंप्रेशन चौपट हो जाएगा।
You cannot change their mind, even if you expose them to authentic information, even if you prove that white is white and black is black.
Well, you can't say that now, but yeah, it's the sheer the fact that they took them out of their own nation to reinforce the barbaric ideologies that they had been pushing upon them. And then they go back and believe those, and no matter what they're told, no matter what they hear, they refuse to accept it. Because well, there's this one scene in One Piece where one of the characters is taken from his illustrious life. He's a kid taken from his illustrious life where he had slaves. He was able to kill whoever he wanted. And this is a kid, like a 10-year-old kid. He was able to do whatever he wanted. He's taken out of that industrial life. And once it's so badly back, because his father took him out of there, he killed his father. And then he tried to get back to that location. And then those people who were the elites of the elites, since his father abandoned it, he was no longer welcome back. So he hated the world and wanted to kill everybody in it. It's one of those things, like, no matter what he was told, he still considered himself the elite of the elite, the best of the best. And I'm not using names or anything, because I definitely recommend One Piece. It's a great essay in storytelling alone. It's phenomenal. I didn't want to get off track into an anime, but the fact that every single thing that they talk about here is, of course, covered in One Piece or anime or better storytelling than what comes out of Hollywood. So I could reference movies and things like that come up from other locations rather than Hollywood.
You still cannot change the basic perception and the logic of behavior.
ब्रिटिश राज खुश था। राज के संरक्षण में राजे रजवाड़े भी अय्याशी कर रहे थे। वह सबसे खुश थे भूरे साहब। मालिकों ने ब्लैक डॉग्स को रूल करने का पावर अब उनको जो दे दिया था। जिन एलीट्स ने खुद को प्रूव किया, उन्हें गोरों ने जागीरें, तमगे और सम्मान दिया।
Titles and honors that are meaningless in the end because, yeah, they're just a title.
किसी को राय बहादुर, किसी को खान बहादुर, तो किसी को नाइटहुड। गांवों में बेलख रही जनता की कौन सुध ले? इंडिया और भारत दो अलग सोच बन गए। इसी सदी में भारत के क्लास डिवाइड की लकीरें हमेशा हमेशा के लिए खिंच गईं। आम जनता ने भी अब आस छोड़ दी थी। ब्रिटिश साम्राज्य का सूर्य अब कभी भी अस्त होता नहीं दिख रहा था। 1947 तक ब्रिटिश राज के एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन का मेन इंजन था इंपीरियल लेजिस्लेटिव काउंसिल। इस काउंसिल में इंडियंस को अनौपचारिक मेंबर्स के रूप में चुना जाता था। देश के सबसे बड़े भूरे साहब, जमींदार, राजकुमार, वकील, मजिस्ट्रेट और व्यापारी इसका हिस्सा बनते थे। जाहिर सी बात है, ये वही लोग होते थे जिनकी वफादारी पर क्राउन को पूरा विश्वास था।
We think that subverter is a person who is going to blow up our beautiful bridges. No. Subverter is a student who comes for exchange, a diplomat, an actor, an artist.
You have your own person who has studied the oppressor, and because he is an insider to the culture, he perfects it to the extent, to levels that no foreigner can.
चालाक ब्रिटन्स बहुत पहले से ये समझते थे कि भारत में उनका शासन हमेशा के लिए नहीं रहेगा। ब्यूरोक्रेसी की बढ़ती निरंकुशता देखकर एम्पायर को बचाने के लिए एलन ऑक्टेवियन ह्यूम ने 1885 में कांग्रेस का गठन किया। इरादा था कि हल्के फुल्के रिफॉर्म्स करके 1857 जैसी परिस्थितियां दोबारा बनने से रोका जा सके। इस सेफ्टी नेट के पहले मेंबर्स कौन बने? वही इंपीरियल काउंसिल जैसे भूरे साहब। ह्यूम का डर गलत नहीं था। अंग्रेजों के सबवर्जन से आहत भारत भूमि से अब नई आवाजें उठ रही थीं। छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज का हिंदवी स्वराज्य 1876 में स्वामी दयानंद सरस्वती की कलम से स्वराज का नारा बनकर निकला। स्वराज, भारत भारतीयों के लिए।
You need another 20 or 15 years to educate a new generation of patriotically minded and common sense people who would be acting in favor and in the interests of society.
ये आग अंदर ही अंदर
It takes a few generations. You take them away from their parents, first generation. You condition them to believe that they're, and you have to stay there for a long period of time until they become adults, have children themselves, and then they're the ones showing their future child what it's like to be, I don't know, proper, I guess, the term that was being used.
पूरे देश में फैल रही थी। बाल गंगाधर तिलक, श्री अरविंदो, बिपिन चंद्र पाल जैसे दार्शनिक उभरे। राष्ट्रवादी विद्वानों के स्वदेशी शोध को पढ़कर नई पीढ़ियां डिमोरलाइजेशन से इम्यून होने लगी। भविष्य के महान क्रांतिकारी इसी विचारधारा के प्रभाव में बड़े हुए। समय की करवट को भांपते हुए इंपीरियल काउंसिल के जेंटलमैन अब कांग्रेस में अटेंडेंस बढ़ाने में लगे।
But in the end, there's always something about being completely, you have to symbolize freedom. In order to completely control, you have to give people the semblance of freedom while at the same time not being free. Or, again, like what's happening in the US, making them willingly give up their freedoms. Choose to give up their freedoms for, of course, their own protection, because it's safer that way. It's better that way. It's better that they're not free.
आलिशान बंगलों और तबकों की महान बलिदान का प्रचार करके अब भूरे साहब कुर्ता पैजामा पहनकर स्वतंत्रता सेनानी बन गए।
On that stage, students are being sent back, or if they were already in the country, which is the object of subversion, they spring to action. The sleepers go up.
एक भयानक तूफान उमड़ रहा था। आजादी की लड़ाई में उग्र देशभक्त क्रांतिकारियों के साथ इंपीरियल काउंसिल के भूरे साहब भी घुल मिल गए। अंग्रेजों के लिए भी ये अच्छी खबर थी।
They slept for 15 to 20 years. Now they become leaders of groups, preachers, public figures. They actively include themselves in the political process.
So that's what's going on. They literally planted the people in order to take control when they left. Oh my gosh.
सबसे आगे था इलाहाबाद का अत्यंत धनी और प्रभावशाली नेहरू परिवार और उसके संरक्षक मोतीलाल नेहरू। अंग्रेजियत नेहरू परिवार के खून में थी। 1911 के
I mean, because one thing I've always noticed, like in Indian cinema, when they go to like a courtroom, thing, their garb, the courtroom setting, everything looks exactly like it does in Britain. The only thing that's different is they got rid of the white hair. Everything else looks exactly the same. The whole box system, the whole everything. I mean, if you look at an American film that does with a courtroom setting, I mean, it still looks similar-ish, but completely different. The judge doesn't wear that garb unless he's a Supreme Court judge. They're only the Supreme Court judges that wear that. Sure, if you're watching a movie from like the that takes place in the 18, what was it? Like it's Not a Time to Kill, the one with they both had the same lawyer in it. Matthew McConaughey played the lawyer, but yeah, they wore that the dress like thing, and then they got rid of it. And now they wear suits and ties. Some of them might wear that over it, but most of the time they just wear suit and ties. The judges that are up there and then the boxes where someone sits, it's similar, but at the same time, it looks so different. If you know but the fact that it looks exactly the same in Indian cinema that it does in British cinema, I guess.
कि दिल्ली दरबार में वीआईपी ट्रीटमेंट हो, चाहे सिविल लाइंस की आलीशान पार्टियां, अंग्रेजों ने कभी मोतीलाल को उनके भूरेपन का एहसास नहीं होने दिया। मोतीलाल का नाम किताबों और फिल्मों में महान स्वतंत्रता सेनानी के तौर पर मिलता है, पर ऐसी कौन सी स्वतंत्रता के लिए वो लड़ रहे थे कि अंग्रेजों कितने शय थे?
Yes, I have heard things about Gandhi that like he's always praised in you know what, I'm not gonna step on any toes, but I have heard things about him that honestly it makes it seem like there have been some misrepresentations about things.
प्रसिद्ध बैरिस्टर मोतीलाल शायद ही कभी किसी क्रांतिकारी का मुकदमा लड़ने के लिए खड़े हुए। राम प्रसाद बिस्मिल और अशफाकुल्ला खान को काकोरी कांड में फांसी की सजा मोतीलाल के रिश्तेदार और मित्र जगत नारायण मुल्ला ने दिलवाई। मोतीलाल जी बेटे के कैरियर से ज्यादा चिंतित थे। बेटे की पढ़ाई खत्म होने के पहले ही मोतीलाल ने बड़ी सफाई से खुद को कांग्रेस का किंग मेकर बना लिया। भारतीय जनमानस के सबवर्जन में अनजाने ही सही, लेकिन मोहनदास करमचंद गांधी की भूमिका को नकारा नहीं जा सकता।
Among the lot of freedom fighters who fought for India's independence, Gandhi was identified as the least threatening. Okay, so he turned the entire direction of the freedom struggle. Plus, he had a mass following. At all strata of the society, you have to give it to him. He had a mass following which no other leader had.
अगर किसी ने गांधी का हिंद स्वराज पढ़ा हो तो वो ऐसी अजीब सी किताब है कि वो उसमें खुद से सवाल पूछे जा रहे हैं, खुद से उसके उत्तर दिए जा रहे हैं। उसमें उनकी अहिंसा की एक बड़ी अजीब सी अवधारणा है जिसमें ये कहा जाता है कि चोर को मत मारो। क्यों? क्योंकि मान लो तुम्हारा पिता ही तुम्हारे घर में चोरी करने आ जाए तो क्या उसको मारोगे? अब आप इस लॉजिक की कल्पना मैं तो नहीं कर सकता।
Yeah, neither can I.
इस तरह का लॉजिक जो है वो गांधी जी ही दे सकते थे।
1928 में मोतीलाल ने गांधी से सोर्स लगवाकर बेटे जवाहरलाल नेहरू को कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष बनवा दिया। यहीं से कांग्रेस में परिवारवाद की परंपरा का शुभारंभ भी हो गया।
Gandhi ji described Jawaharlal.
Yeah, that's the one thing about government, that's the nepotism that takes over. It is insane. Like right now, like again, the US, everyone in politics right now is related to everyone else in politics right now. They're either second cousins, third cousins. They make deals by getting their children married to each other or to other wealthy beneficiaries to keep them in power to fund their reign. But it's nasty. Because in the end, when you have all the power and you have your relatives in the other seats of power, when is anything ever being rightfully chosen, rightfully elected,
Jawaharlal Nehru as pure as crystal, truthful beyond suspicion, and said, "The nation is safe in his hands."
नेहरू एक सच्चे
Propaganda.
थे। भारत की जमीनी सच्चाई से मीलों दूर।
Anytime you hear something like that, I immediately realize it's propaganda. Anytime someone says something like that, it's just like, oof. If someone said something like that about me, I would feel like they're lying. They're trying to sell you something. If someone said that this guy speaks, just talks off the top of his head and doesn't think things through, that is someone that's telling you the truth. But someone telling you like, oh, I speak, I'm someone you need to trust. I'm someone you need to... No, not me. Not me. Definitely not me.
वो फेबियन सोशलिज्म वाले क्रांतिकारी थे। इलाहाबाद और इंग्लैंड में अंग्रेजों के बीच पले बड़े नेहरू गलत समय पर गलत जगह आकर खड़े थे। पापा की पार्टी के अध्यक्ष बनकर वे भारत को पूर्ण स्वराज दिलाने वाले नायक बनने के सपने देख रहे थे, पर शतरंज के प्यादे तो कोई और ही सजा रहा था। एम्पायर के क्राउन का सबसे बड़ा हीरा भारत था। भारत में जब स्वतंत्रता एक निश्चित सच्चाई बनकर उभर रही थी, उसी दौरान अंग्रेजों ने इंपीरियल काउंसिल के एक और बूढ़े साहब को लंदन में कल्टीवेट किया, मोहम्मद अली जिन्ना।
Winston Churchill specifically cultivated Jinnah. I think the India House or one of those institutions in England, they recently released all this correspondence with Jinnah and Churchill, meeting minutes and the correspondence that they had. Jinnah was cultivated specifically by Winston Churchill and some other British leaders.
15 years ago, he did his dirty job and nobody cared. Now he makes it a political issue. He demands recognition, respect, human rights, and he rallies a large group of people. And there are violent clashes between him and police, his group and ordinary people. That is destabilization.
now the root of the Dravidism
That sounds familiar.
has been set. The root of the Khalistan has been set. There's a period when the Islamists are thrown more toward the radical Islamic ideas. We see in the 1920s how the people, the Muslims of the southern belt, that is the Muplahs, they were really mobilized to fight for a caliphate, which even the Turkish people didn't want. Then comes the era of the communists in the 1940s when they spoke about the splitting of the various factions wherever there is a Muslim majority. So there were a lot of things which were happening, a lot of movements, a lot of separatist idea which were really brewing more and more in India.
जिन्ना और उसके साथियों ने 1945 आते आते भारत की सांप्रदायिक हालात काफी बिगाड़ दिए थे। पूरा देश जल रहा था और कांग्रेस के सभी आंदोलन असफल हो चुके थे। भूरे साहबों ने सही समय पर पाला बदला और नेताजी की प्रसिद्धि की लहर पर चढ़ गए। ब्रिटिश राज ने भूल करते हुए आजाद हिंद फौज के ऑफिसर्स पर देशद्रोह के ट्रायल्स शुरू किए। आजाद हिंद फौज के जवानों के लिए पूरा देश एकजुट हो गया। सिविल वॉर की आग नेताजी की प्रसिद्धि के आगे फीकी पड़ गई और उल्टा राज ही निशाने पर आ गया। खतरा महसूस करते हुए राज ने जिन्ना को आगे बढ़ाया। अब समय था सबवर्जन के अंतिम चरण का, क्राइसिस।
This civilization process usually leads directly to the process of crisis.
It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis.
Whoa.
गांधी ने 1928 की अपनी गलती फिर से दोहराई, जो इस बार पूरे भारत को महंगी पड़ने वाली थी। करोड़ों लोगों के बलिदान से आजादी की लड़ाइयां अब अंतिम चरण में थी। जो भी अब कांग्रेस का अध्यक्ष बनता, आजाद भारत के प्रधानमंत्री का पद भी उसे ही मिलता। और सबके प्रिय नेता थे सरदार पटेल।
There were 15 Congress state parties. Out of 15, 12 elected Patel. Not even one gave any vote to Nehru.
जनता चाहे बोस को चुने या पटेल को, आगे वो हमेशा नेहरू को ही खड़ा पाती थी। भूरे साहब को द लास्ट इंग्लिश मैन टू रूल इंडिया जो बनना था।
The population at large is looking for a savior. Population is sick and tired already. A savior comes and says, I will lead you. Who is half-baked intellectual, sometimes graduated from Harvard University or Berkeley.
Half-baked intellectual.
डायरेक्ट एक्शन डे, जिन्ना ने डंके की चोट पर हिंदुओं का नरसंहार किया। पूरा देश सिविल वॉर में धधक उठा। आईबी के डायरेक्टर का लंदन को एक सीक्रेट नोट, द गेम सो फार हैज बीन वेल प्लेड। नेताजी के समर्थन में सशस्त्र सेनाओं का विद्रोह भारत में रह रहे सभी अंग्रेजों के लिए जान का खतरा बन गया। क्लेमेंट एटली ने भारत छोड़ने की तारीख तय कर दी, जून 1948। अमेरिका ने कम्युनिज्म और साम्राज्यवाद को खत्म करने की अपनी नई फॉरेन पॉलिसी की घोषणा की। खरबों के उधार में दबे ब्रिटेन के पास बिग डैडी अमेरिका की बात मानने के अलावा और कोई चारा नहीं था। यूएस और ब्रिटेन का एक नया जियोपॉलिटिकल इंटरेस्ट जन्मा, भारत का पार्टीशन।
So just strong-armed them. It's like, yeah, nobody will listen to America now.
आनंद फानन में डिकी माउंटबेटन को इंडिया का वॉइसरॉय बनाया गया। उसे एक फाइल मिली जिस पर लिखा था ऑपरेशन मैड हाउस। नेहरू माउंटबेटन से शिमला में मिले। डिकी ने नेहरू को ट्रांसफर ऑफ पावर का पहला प्लान दिखाया, प्रोजेक्ट बाल्कन। भारत के निर्दयी पार्टीशन का प्लान देखकर नेहरू साहब बिल्कुल घबरा गए, पर मशोबरा की वादियों में उनकी खास दोस्त एडवीना ने उनको संभाला और अंत में राजी करवा दिया।
He comes back to his country and he thinks that he knows the answer to all the social economical problems.
माउंटबेटन ने अचानक घोषित किया कि ट्रांसफर ऑफ पावर जून 1948 की बजाय 15 अगस्त 1947 को ही हो जाएगा। बस 10 हफ्तों में सब भौचक्के थे। उसी दिन शाम को भारत का विभाजन रेडियो पर अनाउंस हुआ। मुसलमान और हिंदुओं में दंगे शुरू हो गए। स्वतंत्रता संग्राम का सबवर्जन साहेबों को माध्यम बनाकर अब पूरा हो गया था।
So we have two alternatives here. Civil war an invasion.
सिविल वॉर शुरू होने के कुछ घंटे पहले लॉर्ड माउंटबेटन ने शैंपेन खोली और इंडिया के नाम टोस्ट किया। नेहरू साहब ने जाम उठाया और कहा टू किंग जॉर्ज द सिक्स्थ।
The time bomb is ticking. With every second, the disaster is coming closer and closer.
आधी रात को अचानक से दिल्ली में ढोल ताशों का शोर हुआ। घर में खुशी से उछल रही अपनी बेटी को देख वॉइसरॉय के एडवाइजर वीपी मेनन ने आह भरते हुए कहा, हम सबके सबसे डरावने सपने तो अब सच होने वाले हैं।
Oh, okay. Yeah, whew. So let me know if you want me to continue watching this, if you enjoyed this documentary. But yeah, that's just incredibly crazy. The whole yeah, I mean, this I think I've said it all already. I think I've pretty much added it. Okay, I added 30 minutes to this. It's an hour, and I've been talking for over an hour now. Yeah. So thank you all for watching. Let me know if you enjoyed this, if I should be doing the part 2 and more things like this, because this is actually incredibly fascinating. I mean, if you don't enjoy it, I'll just watch this stuff on my own. I mean, I enjoy it. That's enough, right? I enjoy it. And heck, I'll be yelling at my computer screen all the time. I could do it. I could do that on my own. You don't need to be entertained by watching me just or writing down, you're so wrong. This is what this means. This honestly, let me know if what I'm getting wrong, what if anything I missed, because I either couldn't hear it properly or the subtitles might have been off. I mean, sometimes subtitles are wrong. So let me know in the comment section below what's wrong, or if I should continue this. I mean, if you got to this point, thank you. That means a lot. But yeah, please like, share, subscribe, and if you happen to want to help support me to become a member of the channel, that'd be. I only got one thing right now. It's Cobra. If you want to join, you can become a Cobra. I don't know why I chose Cobra. I was thinking of like creatures in India that are, because I was thinking, you know what, Cobra, tiger, lion, maybe, you know, whichever one, maybe eagle or hawk or whatever. But you know, I chose Cobra as the first level. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Yeah, like, share, subscribe. I've talked for long enough. Toodles.